All right, you can go.
Good.
You got a WebEx window on top of your slides, is all.
Participants. Let me move that
That's
down.
probably it. I don't know. It's just gray boxes to us.
Yep. There we go. All right.
Uh,
Now we should be good.
nice.
All right.
Are
Looks
we
it.
all set to go now? And by the way, Frank will take credit for reminding me to start the video, but I told him to remind me, so I get ultimate credit.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday, April 9th, Arcos Large Group meeting. Let's get started. We're going to start with some announcements. Then we will have a guest speaker. After that, we will talk about status updates and grading, the upcoming workshops for next week, final presentations, and then next class and attendance. So let's start with announcements.
Last call for this. Again, the CS department is looking for volunteers to help on April 20th for their dual club fair and one-on-one accepted student chat. It's using open source software, or you'll be on Discord. So if you're interested in helping out in either of these for any amount of time in that time frame, check your email, fill out that form, and do it now rather than later, since the test run is this next Monday. So definitely volunteer. It's one of the best ways to help accepted students. And I know for a fact there are some accepted students that are now current students because of this program. Some have even reached out to us, which is pretty cool. So if you can and you have the time, please volunteer. Next slide.
Okay, so I guess this one's me. Remember, we have the call for code. We've been working with IBM all semester. The next call for code is getting started. They're having a getting started conference call on 12/12. The overall program is described in the top link, or you can just Google IBM call for code. They're associated with a group called Tech for Good. And then if you want to register for the conference call, I don't know how far in advance you need to register. But they are asking you to register for the conference call on 12/12. That would be Monday, I believe, right? Um, yeah. Uh, please follow that link and click on it. It's going to be a conference call. It'll explain how to get started. It'll explain some of the tools that are available. I believe it's going to be taped, so if you miss it, you can always go back and grab it again. But don't miss it. It's always best to get these live, and it also allows you to ask questions or type questions into chat. This is something I just found out about. I think it would be really cool for anybody who plans to be in. I think this is UCSD, so the University of California at San Diego. So anybody who plans to be in that area, or who would be willing to go to that area, they are running a cross center for research in open source. They have an open OS. Anyway, the OSRE, I believe, is the summer program for that. So if you're interested in picking up some research, that the deadline for summer student applications is April 30th. That link will take you right there. I got this through some of the contacts in teaching open source. It would be really cool to get somebody from Arcos out at UCSD and then come back and tell us how you wowed them all summer long, and maybe help us build some more connections with other schools. I think this. There's an All Things Open. If you guys have ever gone to All Things Open, I've attended the last two or the last three, I guess, All Things Open conferences. I've attended them online. They've been markedly less exciting online than they are in person, but the call for papers is opening up. I think it's. I, I don't remember. This is the wrong. This is the wrong link. I will get the correct link into the application. But they're opening up for a call for papers. They're looking for submissions from established technologists, new community members. I think students are a very good part of that. I would like to see something on Arcos be presented at All Things Open. I think there's a good likelihood that it's going to be online again, and if it's not, I think it's only in Boston. So we should be able to help you get to Boston and actually present something there. So please consider that. I will fix the slide before we post it, or I guess I can
Already
fix
done.
it after. Already done? Already posted or already fixed?
Yep. Already fixed in the slides. It won't show until if anyone else goes to these slides, they'll see the fixed link.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Frank. Anyway, so please think about this. It's a really informal conference. You don't have to worry about a hostile audience. There's no better place to showcase your open source contributions than probably there. And then I think this is my final one before we turn this over to our guests. On the 30th, we're going to have another talk. It's our last day of classes. It's a good way to kind of end the semester. This talk is going to be by Alan Tucker. Alan Tucker is a retired professor, emeritus. He's also the author of Client-Centered Software Development, the COFOS approach. What Alan does is he works as an intermediary between charitable organizations that need software development and open source organizations who are willing or capable of providing it. And he does all that nasty stuff that takes months of time to get set up, figuring out requirements, figuring out who's going to take over at the end, making it so that what you're doing before you get involved. So if you've ever seen some of the presentations by some of our charitable organizations, sometimes they actually don't know what it is they're actually looking to develop, and he fills that void, and he's written a book about how to go out and fill that void. So it should be a good way to kind of end up this semester and get you guys thinking about the next semester coming up. So he'll talk to us on the 30th. It should be a lot of fun. He's a good speaker. I've met him in person a couple of times at SIG CSE and elsewhere. I've read about a quarter of his book so far. I intend to finish it, but I did really good at the beginning of the semester, and as the semester progresses, I get less and less good about doing my homework. So, anyway, I think that just brings us on to Nia.
Yeah. Well, I only have this slide, and I'm just introducing today's guest speaker. So, take it away.
Hello, my name's Anthony. I am a ComSci EMAC dual major from the year 2013. It has been roughly 1 decade since I took Morthy's class. I think I took 2 classes with him, and it's a pleasure to be back. Before I get started, is there a way to share my screen?
I am working. There we go. I'm trying to find where I'm sharing my screen. There we go.
Okay.
So there should be a share button that pops up as soon as I stop
I got it. Oops.
sharing mine.
It went away. Okay, it might start working now. Let me know when you can see it.
Still loading, it seems. There we go.
Great, thank you. I'm here to talk about the League of Extraordinary Foundry VTT Developers. We are a community that prides itself on open collaboration, open leadership, and the creation of open source solutions for playing digital tabletop games, for playing tabletop role-playing games digitally. But before I explain what that's all about, I brought other guests with me. We have a very we like our eclectic organizational style, but I'm what's called a fire juggler, and we have ringmasters as well. And we all have different roles to play in various like open initiatives that we're leading. And this, I think, is like my very first one, and I'm very, very excited about it. But so here is, I guess, Cody, if you don't mind, like introducing your role. Actually, you have two roles, one of which I just wrote down recently. So if you don't mind sharing your role.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Cody Sandrowski. I am a developer, also comp sci from UWM, Wisconsin, Milwaukee. And I started up the league back when there was just a bunch of developers and we were all chatting in Discord, and we needed a place to work. It quickly grew out of control from there, and now we have a ton of people and a lot of leadership and a lot of people doing some very cool things. I recently handed over the crown to Andrew because I am starting to next Monday working on the core software of Foundry Virtual Tabletop. So I am now going to be one of 6 employees at the core software team.
Andrew, why don't you explain your role?
I'm apparently the head ringmaster. I hang around and do cool stuff and help people out. I'm professionally a front-end developer, so Foundry is built on HTML and JavaScript, and that's my bread and butter.
Ardit, would you like to go next?
Well, I'm Ardit. I'm a fire juggler. I mostly just look around and help people if they need help, which I enjoy a lot. I'm currently still studying, but I'm also working at the same time as a front-end web developer.
Excellent. Matthias?
Yes, hi, I'm Matthias. Contrary to what my accent may suggest, I'm not a native English speaker. I'm from France. I've been working in the video game industry for the last 10 years in a small indie game studio. And I'm working on a lot of stuff for the league, and mostly some cool thing in 3D.
All of our guests today have short demos to share. I picked the videos, but they're just going to speak a little bit on open source projects that they've been working on for Foundry VTT. So VTT is a virtual tabletop, and let me tell you a little bit about Foundry and why it's so unique. Actually, first, why don't I tell you why you should care about this category? First off, I know that RPI, lots of RPI comp sci students like games of all sorts, and Dungeons & Dragons just had its biggest year ever. Entertainment and leisure business surged in 2020, and I pulled these two articles last month because you may not have known that digital tabletop role-playing platforms were a category, and a category of business, as it were. So in the New York Times article specifically, an executive at a different company, Roll20, said that their new user signups spiked 840% in March 2020. And over 2020 as a year, they doubled their user base. So they have millions of users, and this just goes to show that it's a growing product category that is making a lot of people a lot of money. However, we make stuff for Foundry, which is smaller than Roll20, but we all make open source software for it because it has a few unique properties. Let's just jump into what it looks like. Matt from Encounter Library here has added a colorful map to Foundry and then marked off walls, windows, and doors so that when his character moves around, the tavern walls restrict movement and vision. Did that play? I wasn't.
Did.
A
there
bit
we go.
choppily, but
Okay. Now it should be playing. Okay, just move on. And then when he's done setting up, he and his friends play D&D as though they were playing with physical pieces on a table. Let me. What's more, the characters themselves have state. You double click on them and you see what their state is with customizable templates, which can also emit events to trigger functions. So an example of that would be you click on let's see if this plays. You click on a spell in its character sheet, and that rolls dice, and that has a meaning. The result of the die roll has a meaning in the game. But Foundry is unique because it has multiple ways for users to customize the experience. Let's see if this goes. Yeah, okay. So here, Dev, another member of the League leadership, teaches how simple role formula macros, that's what they're called, simple role formula macros can be saved and executed multiple times just with a click. So he then goes on to illustrate how that can also be used in JavaScript. So you can have JavaScript macros that are saved in the UI and can be executed. And then further goes on to show how that can be expanded into packages that Foundry has its own package manager that you can install. And that's what we're here to show you. Some of those packages that you can install with Foundry. And you'll notice that all of the videos are from YouTube content creators, not from, well, some of them are from our guests themselves. But Andrew, would you like to explain what GM Screen is all about?
Yeah, so normally everything that you pop up in Foundry is in these little windows, and that's super useful, except whenever you're used to a GM screen being in front of you with sticky notes all over it. So I made that. I said, what if I took these little windows and made them inside of little cells? And I had to hijack the core UI framework a little bit to do so, but it kind of just worked, and it surprised me whenever it just worked. But that's just the joys of Foundry. Sometimes it just works.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this started where I wanted it to start, but eventually he's going to click on one of these options. And
drag and drop. He can also drag and drop, but I didn't exactly make that clear in the README. So that was on me.
But essentially infinitely configurable sticky notes in the style of a GM screen, which is what you usually have in front of you when you're playing role-playing games. Matthias, would you like to explain Dice So Nice?
Yes, sure. So as it was said, the dice in the role-playing game are an important part of the game. It adds random into what you are doing in the game. And in Foundry, in the core software, there was no visuals for dice rolling. It was just numbers in the chat box. So Dice So Nice adds 3D dice, as you can see on the video. And these dice can be customized, and there's a lot of options since players are often very close to their dice. There is a bit of a mythology about your dice when you play role-playing games.
Yeah, and it's I should point out that it's probably the most, or is it definitely the most downloaded module for
It
Foundry?
could be, yeah, maybe,
Definitely.
yeah, I know, okay, yeah.
By a long shot.
Everyone likes to customize what their dice look like, and there's also some nice particle effects, right? Are those implemented?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
there is
so
a lot.
that's- yeah. So
There's more to
Dice-
do.
That's Dice So Nice. Ardit, would you like to show off your NPC generator?
Well, when I was playing as a player, I heard my GM complain about having to make too many characters. So I went to work and I made a NPC generator. I looked on GitHub for data sets that I could use, and I found one. And then I got it into Foundry to work. I even got help from others with the UI, since that's not my strong point. But in the end, it worked, and it works great, and a lot of people use it, which is nice to see.
Yes, and that's something that I'll point out is that at the end of this slide presentation, I have credits for other major contributors to each of these projects. And then also, of course, if you'd like to look at the slides yourselves, see the video working less choppily, and also click on the repos for each project to investigate them for yourself. Who's next?
That is me.
Yes.
So a lot of people do open source modules. The difference of mine is I put early access and alpha builds behind a Patreon so that people can support my work as I do open source development and get early hands on things. This module, well, there's two modules together. One is called Visual Novel for Foundry. It enables a alternative play style. Japanese audiences like to have their character portraits in the front view and have text read like a visual novel. Western audiences prefer more of the top-down style. Vino enables characters to show up and their text to be read in real time. And the companion module I just released for that is called The Voice of the Game, which enables you to do text-to-speech. It'll read out the text via neural link text-to-speech powered by Azure, or it can transcribe what you say into text as well, so you can now play text-based games vocally. And these will show off that you can have a lot of control over adding just some incredible features to Foundry.
Yeah, so I'll unmute this. Is there more speech to text after this?
Okay. Yes, but it's probably going to be a bit choppy on this connection.
Okay, that's fair.
Pretty sure it's not capturing your audio, only your video.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's something that people can investigate for themselves.
You've looped back to the start.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's obviously not wanting to work just as well in production as it did in test. So
we've
sorry about that.
That's fine. We've been dealing with this for over a year now. So this is not the I've taped many things without voice just because something went wrong.
Okay. And you definitely can't hear the desktop audio?
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Definitely can't.
If you reshare your content with the WebEx optimized for video, then it will transmit the audio as well.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, a little bit of a hassle.
Yeah, we'll just get through the rest of the presentation. This is the last one that depends on audio. So this is from another League leadership member who goes by Blitz on Discord. And he created a voice-activated virtual assistant. So without any you can pretend hearing his Scottish voice, his Scottish accented voice, which is relevant to this video because he quite comically has some issues with the API that he chose, the voice assistant API that he chose, understanding him saying line, and it kept hearing him say lane. So I thought that would be fun. But now that I have to explain the joke, it's not quite as fun. But these are all great examples. And of course, he was using an open source library to make that possible. I'm trying to click through here. There we go. Next are a few that I picked from the community because I think they're standout examples of what you can do inside Foundry. So this one is called Macronomicon by Jacob Macaulay and Valraven. They haven't released it yet, but this gives yet another option for players, especially those who aren't familiar with programming, or players and users in general, to create a macro without knowing any programming at all. And it was inspired by Jacob's use of Scratch in a educational setting to teach students programming concepts. And then next is something that comes to us from another group. Some might say a rival group, but actually one of them is a very valued League community member, the Cabal of Modular Map Makers, who are all artists who came together to create a design spec for modular map tiles. So I don't know if you can see any of these images, but they created a document that lists out a bunch of various things that a complete tile set would need, and then shared it amongst each other to then create art assets for that interlock in place with each other. And this is interesting because they want to make they have made this open source so that you could make your own open source tile set, or you could create software like a random dungeon generator that works with the design spec that they created. So not all projects are programming projects, as it turns out. We can probably help you with something that's also along those lines. And then finally, we have a commission here. So like Cody mentioned earlier, the Japanese community has their own culture of play. And this commission was added to our Trello last week to request a feature for an API that is always used in Japanese virtual tabletops, a API called BC Dice. And a member of our community built a BC Dice API consuming package for Foundry, and then this is a $200 feature request on top of that work. And I believe this is GPL licensed, so you could pocket that $200. You could make this feature, pocket that $200, and then release it under GPL. Just like a shout out to that community because they have paid over $900 in commissions to date through the League of Foundry Developers. So they posted that commission to Trello. We have over 130 cards on our Trello board, mostly package ideas that people are just dropping in to because it seems like, something that we would love to do if only for the time, and then also to keep each other honest on our progress with stuff that we've decided to pick up. So once again, illustrating our open collaboration and open leadership ideals, values, and also just to show that, like, have written here over a dozen active bounties, most of which are available through this Trello. And the link for that will be available in the slides as well. This is just to show that we're a large and international community. I'll point out that the United States is actually less than half of where our home is primarily on Discord, and so less than half of us are from the United States. And so 40% of us on this of the guests on this call right now are not from the United States. So you really have an opportunity to kind of expand your boundaries beyond the campus if you decide that you want to get involved. This is to show that beyond. So this is the main user base. So 30,000 members on Discord. That's what they primarily use as a community home hub. And this is just for the Foundry Gaming main English Discord. And I just grabbed a bunch of member counts from elsewhere in the world, speaking other languages in other countries. This is very, if you were to make something, if you were to get involved with us and make a package that works with Foundry, you are very likely to have outreach to game communities. If that's your interest, where your interests lie, you would have outreach to game communities across the world, and probably have hundreds of users. So it's really about impact. We think that this is a great match because we're all about open source. We're all about trying to make money from open source. And we're all about trying to push higher, push boundaries, and stuff like that. So these are credits. The content creators, Matt from the first couple slides has also been hired with Foundry as a product manager. So congrats and thanks to him. Thanks to all the other contributors and developers who's given us permission to use their work in the slides, especially to the cabal of modular map makers, to Brother Sharp of the Japanese Foundry community, and to Andrew Clayton, he is the owner of Foundry Gaming, and his support has how exactly did I write this? Well, his support has made it much more gratifying to go down this endeavor. So thank you to him as well. And I have our personal contact information in case anyone wants to get in touch with us after this. We'll be taking questions and in the chat, but if anyone is watching this later or whatnot, we're available to chat. And then finally, I threw this slide right at the end so that we can talk over it if there are any questions. But this is a snippet of the Node module, the Node package JSON. So a couple of the ones that you would be, if you made a Foundry package, that you would be on the lookout for are handlebars, jQuery, NEDB, which is a database store, JSON database store, Pixie.js, which is the canvas, Socket.io, and TinyMCE, which is a input. What would be the word for TinyMCE?
Rich text editor.
Yeah,
you can drop in the library.
So thank you very much.
All right. Do we have any questions from the students?
And just in case anyone wants to click on the links or watch all the videos in this presentation, I put a link to it in the slides channel on the Arcos Discord.
Thank you very much for
Thanks,
that.
Nia. All right, so while we're waiting for our students to unmute and type, I have a couple questions. Probably far too many, because this is really cool. So you guys have a relationship with Foundry is a for-profit organization, right? And they market something, and that I assume that's got a closed core, but they open up the interface so you guys can do development and extend it. Is that kind of correct?
Correct. Closed core source, but open API.
Cool. So I think that's the model of a lot of different gaming companies, and that's really cool. You guys have a good relationship with them. I mean, it seems, just looking at what they've allowed you to do or what you've been able to do, it seems like you guys work well with them, and it sounds like they hired one of you at least.
I would hope I have a good relationship with them now. I'm going to work for them, but
Yeah, and just to elaborate a little bit on one piece of that is that it is a $50 license to own the software, and we are if we are told with enough time ahead of time, we can get at least 2 students licenses to the software without any purchase themselves. So that's not coming from Foundry, that's coming from me and the league. And then Foundry as well is very interested and supportive of this initiative. So they're listening and hoping to see great results.
we also have an offer from one of our ringmasters who runs the Forge to have hosted instances of Foundry for free for development. So you'll have a place to test your changes and collaborate and with others without having to worry about opening up your ports and stuff.
So cool. So that kind of is kind of leading into the other kind of line of questions that I had. We talked a little bit about how you might want to work with Arcos, and it seems perfectly fine for the students to join Foundry VTT and begin working just independently. But we were also talking about perhaps doing some mentoring with Arcos going forward. What are you looking at that point?
I looked at the Arcos handbook, and that was most of where I was getting some of my thoughts surrounding that. And I looked at what Mozilla has to share about their open leadership program. And I think that that's a great opportunity for those of us who are willing to put in a little bit of the research and a little bit of the training time, as it were, to learn how to be mentors. And we have interest from a few of our leadership members. We have actually not yet announced to the league group as a whole, only our 17 or so members who are in the leadership have heard about this, although as soon as this goes public, it's going to be wide open. And I am looking forward to getting more people interested in the mentorship piece when that happens.
So if the students were to take, did we talk about summer or fall?
Summer, as soon as possible.
So we have, so for those of you, particularly those of you who are going to be rising juniors, Anthony has made himself has said he'll make himself available this summer if you're interested in doing something with Forge, and we can get you, and other people possibly as well. I hate to speak for too many people at once. you know, it would be really interesting if you were interested in this. You know, they're using a lot of different technologies that show up over and over again in our projects. So if, you know, there is a possibility. I'd encourage you, if you're interested in doing something this summer, there's a possibility of actually getting started with some of this, you know, fairly soon.
Yeah, and on that note, you know, if it wasn't already apparent by the number of modules, there's so many opportunities to try different things. You can work with, you know, Vue applications. You can work with 3D modules in Pixie and the Canvas rendering WebGL. You can work with Pixie.js. You can, you know, do backend applications, and you can do dependency management. You can do some number math and such on, you know, fair dice rolls and such. There's just really no limits to what kinds of things you can put in here. People have gotten Doom running on Foundry, like OG Doom. There's just, it's an incredible platform to build upon with almost no limit to what you want to do in it.
So I'd like to say what Doom, but I think that added a year onto my PhD.
It actually runs DOSBox, so it's any Doom that's on DOSBox.
Yeah. Cool. And the other thing that I wanted to kind of call out with what you presented, do you want, so you actually have people who you're an open source community, but you actually have people coming to you and offering money to solve issues?
Correct. So it tends to look like someone in the community, you know, is playing and they want something, but they don't have the expertise to know how to do it themselves. So they come to the community and say, "Hey, I'm willing to, you know, put this much money towards," you know, or maybe they group together. Is, you know, the Japanese community often, you know, goes in together to be like, "Hey, we as a community would like have this much money to offer for someone to build something." And without a fail, I don't think a single one of those has gone closed source. They've all ended up as free and open source modules at the end. Those people were just excited that, you know, their thing got built.
So for those of you who are going to be around this summer and who might, you know, need a little bit of pizza money, you know, there's at least a possibility there. And quite honestly, we would, as long as it ends up open source, we would have no problems accepting that as part of your contributions for Arcos. So yeah, cool. Any other questions for our guests before we get on to the rest of our meeting and then move on? All right. So
I can't see the chat. Did anyone say anything in the chat?
I don't see any questions.
Okay.
This is you guys sure you don't have any questions? This is our first really external presentation this semester, I think, except for something earlier with IBM.
If people are too shy, our Discord names tags are on the slides, and I don't know if I'll find an appropriate place, an appropriate channel to also post another link to something called Foundry Hub that Matthias made. Matthias, would you like to real quick explain what Foundry Hub is?
Yeah, sure. It's a community website for the users, not for the developers, or not only the developers. So yeah, it just comes with a forum, news website, and package browser for people to find the most popular add-ons or new stuff being released. And there is a lot of links on it, so you can use it as a way to discover what Foundry is from the user perspective.
Yeah. The reason why I call it out is it has a searchable, filterable package browser for Foundry. So you can just type in an idea and find out if anyone has come up with that idea already. And and it's a very effective way of doing that. And people have share their comments back and forth, and then each one, of course, has a link back to the GitHub repository where that provided that it's an open source module, where that open source module lives on GitHub or on GitLab.
Excellent. All right. Let's. I'm sorry. I'm just reading the. Okay. Let's thank our. Well, it's gonna be hard to hear the clapping, but I'll clap. Nice presentation. Frank and Cody and a whole bunch of people figured out how to do clapping without actually having to clap. Apparently, I am behind the times on that. All right. So let's, if you, like I said, you guys are welcome to hang out. This looks like it's going to go on for a while. Nice.
Thank you for having us.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was a very interesting presentation. It's something, and it's interesting for me to see these viable open source communities. I worked in industry for a long time doing open source for a company, and they did a lot like Foundry, except that they had a little bit more control over the libraries. There was a consortium that had control over the open source libraries they used. So the company didn't have control over it, but there was the company and Harvard and GE and all sorts of people working to build this thing that everybody could use. And it's kind of a similar model to what you guys are, except you seem to have grown organically outside of the company just to scratch your own itches, as it were. This is really cool. This is a completely different model, and I'm enjoying hearing about it. So it was really nice to talk to you guys. And I used to do D&D when I was younger, and had I known this was still going, I might get sucked in again. So
It's never too late.
You're welcome. You're welcome to join.
We will see what my free time looks like, but that's really cool. This is a nice addition. I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to get something going together. It seems like it's a very nice community.
I have one more thing to add just to what you just said, and it's one of the reasons a lot of us started working on Foundry projects is because Foundry is so extensible. That's what pulled us in and has kept us here.
Nice. It's always the case that if you have a good relationship, that's why I was, once I, heard that one of your people were actually going to Foundry, you can kind of judge the company by the fact that you guys have a relationship, where that's, honestly possible and comes out. But it was just an interesting thing. It's really good when you have a relationship with the company that's at the core, as it were, that allows you to work together in this way. So excellent. Excellent presentation. And I'm trying to figure out how to get my stuff back so that I can continue on with our day. I guess I got to do that, and then I have to start presenting. So again, thank you all. We'll kind of finish up. We don't have much left beyond this, so it shouldn't take us too long to get through here. And then if there's anything else, we can. Ardit, I will fix that in just a second once I get this cursor following problem fixed. Yeah, we've had this problem. I'm not sure why this happens. It's been happening relatively more often than I would like. Where am I? There we go. Sorry, I need to pull up the slides again. There we go. Okay, that should fix half of it. Okay, and I will now fix the chat thing for like the 4th time today, which is getting to be a bit annoying. RPI buys us licenses for WebEx, and it allows us to do these large meetings, but WebEx isn't my favorite option.
I think it's fair to say it's no one's favorite option.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna have to stop sharing for just a second while I can't find the Okay, Ardit, did that work for you now? You know what? I'm just going to go in and what I've been doing is uncheck all, apply, check all, apply. I was interested to find out if just looking at it actually did work. All right. Hopefully everybody's back. Hopefully I can now present my screen, and hopefully we can wrap up this this meeting. There we go. There were our esteemed or extraordinary Foundry VTT developers. Frank, why don't you take it away from here?
Sure, will do. You've all seen this slide before, and you can see the arrow inching ever closer to the end. So again, we are in the wrap-up period. Got some amazing guest speakers, but we're also trying to focus on final presentations. So if your projects haven't started those yet, please do so. Mentors should be reaching out and talking to you about those. Keep this in mind. You still have time to get more contributions in if you feel like you're not on the right path, or you were told you were not on the right path, but not all the time in the world. Next slide.
I am on the display, not the slide. Give me just a second. There we go. Nope. There we go. Sorry about that. Hunter?
Alrighty, so we've got some workshops coming up. We got nice 2 new options. We've got generating text with GPT-2 with Abraham. That is on April 14th, otherwise known as next Wednesday at 11 a.m. We've also got Intro to SQL with Frank. That's also on the 14th and at 1 p.m. So we're running out of opportunities to get workshops in. So if you don't have all your workshop credits in, or if you missed a few days of attendance, definitely make sure you're attending these workshops so you can get the best grade possible.
All right, Nia. I guess I can stop saying that now that we're on a roll.
The end of the semester is getting pretty close, which means projects will be having their final presentations soon. If you haven't signed up yet, we have a sign up link here. The guidelines and rubric and all of the gradable stuff is on the handbook there. We will try to keep presentations to about 10 minutes maximum, since we have quite a few of them and only just enough slots, I think. So, and I'm pretty sure all of the later slots are already filling up. So if you haven't signed up on this at this point, I think you're going on one of the earlier days. So project leads should all sign up to present. And I look forward to seeing everyone's final presentations. Let's see what's on the next slide. So yeah, here are the guidelines. As you can see, most of it is honestly the effectiveness of the presentation. That's the largest chunk. we, grade progress as, the same value as whether you have a title. So, if your project didn't make as much progress this semester as you hoped or wanted it to, that's okay. But as long as you properly convey either why that happened or how that happened, or what your process was and what you're going to either do about that next semester or what your plans are for next semester otherwise, you should be great. So these guidelines are all on the handbook. So if you have any questions about any of them, feel free to DM any of the coordinators or mentors or just any of us, and we'll be happy to help. And I believe, are we on upcoming? No, we're on. Next is, okay. So mentors should submit proposals for any last few workshops they have for the remainder of the semester. Projects should keep meeting and working. Work on your final presentations. If you want to dry run them, do a practice presentation, reach out to one of your mentors, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to find a time to listen to your presentation and give you some tips. Members who got less than perfect scores on their mid-year should make up those or keep making contributions to make sure that they pull their grade to where they want it to be for the end of the semester. And with that, we are ready for attendance.
Awesome. So I just want to emphasize something Nia said. We're going to be assigning, we need to have a presentation schedule set up. We're going to be assigning you if you don't sign up. All the later ones are getting taken first. So if we have to assign you, it is likely that you will find out Tuesday that you're presenting on Friday. Okay? So just to make sure you have that status in mind. All right. I'm not going to go over this. We did that a number of times. Instead, what I'll just do is I'll blank out of here and we'll bring up some good old-fashioned venue. And we will hope that I remember to set up venue for today. And that I remember what today is. Yes, the 9th. So I think we've ironed out most of the issues with people signing up for venue. So if not, please let us know. Here is venue. Here is your Magical Mystery QR code. Please give us your attendance. And I'm going to leave this up for a while. That's the end of our meeting. So if anybody has any questions for Anthony, as we're kind of getting this finished up, please type it into chat or unmute yourself and just ask it.
I'm not sure actually if Anthony is still here. Looking at the participants list.
Uh-oh. Well, if you have any questions, ask him anyway. We may have lost our. I thought he said he was gonna.
He is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions for Anthony, please feel free to ask them. I'll leave this up for a few minutes while we go through. We did get one comment from Owen McGee about his 5e group already uses Foundry, so that would be pretty cool. Let's see. Can somebody paste the presentation sign up into the chat?
Yeah, I got it.
Whoa, I was faster.
Hunter just beat me to it.
Gotta go fast. Look at all those open Friday spots for people who haven't signed up yet.
All right.
My roommate,
Go ahead, please.
I was just going to mention my roommate quite literally yesterday was, he's not a CS major, but he was coding away in Python trying to web scrape a D&D website to get information to DM a campaign. And I was like, there has to be better tools than this. So I know what to point him to.
So one of the things that I find cool about this project is there are a lot of components to this. You don't actually. We've had in the past, we've had fewer of this than I would like, but we have had people who aren't CS majors involved in Arcos. And in fact, next week I have an appointment set up to talk to an incoming visiting scholar at MPAC, who's interested in doing. And this was thanks to Alice. Is Alice on yet? She may have left. Alice put us in touch with them. They're interested in doing electronic music with us, and you can kind of see this fitting in that same vein of bringing in people from GSAS, bringing in people from the arts department. So I'm really kind of interested in seeing what we can do, and if we can use this to entice some of those design people into our into our orbit, so that we can kind of take advantage of that. It would be those are things that you need that type of asset,
Definitely.
just as much as you need people who can program. So I think maybe that's one of the things that I would like to ask Anthony, if he's listening, is how much of your community is just looking at the Trello board and everything. It seems like you have a mix, but is this mainly people who are gamers, or mainly people who are developers, or is it some hybrid kind of thing?
Hi. I would say that it is all gamers and mostly developers. Some people who are just making requests, commissions, and also artists, game publishers, people who publish mostly PDFs of and physical books of role-playing games, who want to see how their physical product can be made into a digital product, with both a little bit of open source interest and a little bit of closed source interest, to be honest. One interesting aspect of the tabletop role-playing scene is that in the 90s, the largest tabletop role-playing publisher, Wizards of the Coast, created something called the Open Game License, which is frankly not what you would expect of something with that name. It's probably a very weak copyleft, but it is in the spirit of copyleft and of open source licenses. And in that way, a lot of companies are open to their game systems, their rule sets being open, and their content that would be considered adventures or other types of content that work with the game systems being closed. I don't know if that answers your question.
It was an expansion on my question. I looked up that Open Game License. Now I'm trying to remember what I had a question about that as well, but I'm blanking.
Right. I could really go on about this, but what I will say is that I found the only evidence of it ever being like it has never been in a court case, for example. Like at least as far as I know, like testing the open game license at work. But I did find a lawyer for SPDX, who, or at least someone on the SPDX legal team, who evaluated it on the merits of open source and found that one of its clauses would likely disqualify it from being considered open source. So that's, it hasn't really been evaluated beyond just one person's opinion in terms of that very specific like open source definition. But that is actually kind of one of my projects, is to really interrogate that. But it's difficult. I need a lot of partners in the industry in order to do that. And so far, I just have a bunch of developers who don't really know a lot of that legal stuff.
And that legal stuff gets complicated
We'll
very
see.
fast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. We do have some people who are more familiar on the legal side, but I don't. So I don't know if that is where you were going with that, but as I said, I could go on about that. So.
I wasn't actually going anywhere.
Okay. Okay. But it's ubiquitous in the industry, and people use it all the time to share content across publishers. So, and then that trickles down into consent for that content to be provided in open source packages for Foundry. So there are packages that just reproduce that OGL content for use in play.
Cool. All right. I think we are down to only a handful of participants. So I think it's probably about the limit of what we're going to get today. Thank you for being there, and thank you for coming, and thank you for answering all of my questions. I really, like I said, I think this is an excellent opportunity. So, much appreciated, and I'm looking forward to working to get with you guys this summer, and hopefully for a while if it works out well. So thanks. I think that's pretty much what we need to do at this point. Any questions for us before we kind of shut this down?
Thank you for having me.
Oh, much appreciated. I appreciated your, like I said, we love to have people show up and talk to us, and this was an excellent opportunity for us. Thank you for showing up, Artie. Cool. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We enjoy your Friday night, I guess.
No.
Yeah. Don't play too many games. Bye.
I'm on. I'll go.